Welcome, everyone. Joe Martinez here, and we are doing the Thursday morning production call. Um, what this call is for is to help you write business, help you help a family, and help you get better in your appointments. What I love about this is it's very interactive. Please feel free to unmute, ask any questions as long as it's related to the topic. But even funner, it is very related to what's going on with us during the week, right, or the past week. Because what we do is we reach out to all our leaders and we ask them, right, like where do you see your agent struggling? Where are you struggling on with appointments? And that's how we create topics of what to talk about. So I'm actually super excited about this one because it kind of plays off of what James and Rodney were talking about earlier, right? Your first 90-day expectation, your 3 learning curves that you go through in production, and then, right, choosing your overwhelm. And we're going to dig into all those. But first, I love to talk about, um, you know, making sure you're getting something out of this. This is an hour-long production call. We want to make sure you get nuggets. So please be sitting down somewhere, taking actual notes. And then the biggest thing is go apply them to your appointments. Right. That is the biggest nugget I can give y'all. Right. We're gonna give you a whole bunch of information, but it doesn't matter if you don't literally, whatever you write down, go put it into your appointment. So I'm really big at talking about that because I talk to a lot of agents sometimes that are in a lot of our calls, but they don't take the nuggets, right, and apply them, and they stay stuck, right? They're like, man, I'm plugged into everything, and I'm like, well, where are your notes? Like, what did you get out of last week's call? Like, what did you apply in this appointment? And they're like, well, it was a lot of, right, and it wasn't specific, right? So I just want to make sure we're always talking about what's helping y'all move forward, right? So it's taking notes and actually putting them into your appointment. That is the biggest thing. Chris Cook taught me that when I first joined the organization, and me and him have always, like, even for me, right, that we're hosting the production calls, we take notes, right, because our agents give us a whole bunch of really good nuggets and we go apply them, right? Like, we're continuing to get better at our appointments. And then something I love to talk about, right, is you wherever you're at on production, right, you'll get new information and you'll kind of steer that way, which is perfect, right? Because you're learning a new craft, or hey, I want to start focusing on FIF, or the topic today, right? The 3 learning curves. But then all of a sudden, right, like my no shows increase or this, right? It's because we took our focus away from this and we started applying it over here. And that's perfectly, like, we literally still do that 6 years later, right? And me and Jeff will say, like, hey man, my no shows are increasing, right? Like, let me refocus on the lockdown, right? Let me refocus on, the cadences that I send them to for reminders, right? Like, just realize you're always gonna be working on yourself, whether it's production or building, no matter what. And just kind of enjoying that part, right? Like, hey, you know what? I always get to work on something different every single week so that my business can get better. So again, write these down. These are going to be the 3 topics that we're going to talk about, which is the first 90-day expectation, the 3 learning curves in production, and then choose your overwhelm, right? And I want to hit on the first 90-day expectation, why this is so important. And, for every caliber of agent, right? So whether you're a brand new agent inside your first 90 days, or even better, if you're a builder, right, and you have a whole bunch of agents in your first 90 days, this is going to be some really good information to keep in front of them, right? So that they don't feel like they're not doing the right activity, right? Um, so let's just dig into this. The first 90-day expectation. So, I love, we do a ton of interviews, and one of the most common question is, right, can I get profitable? Like, what's the learning curve? Right? Like, how fast can I move through this? And nobody likes the answer, Jeff, right? Because the answer is it's going to be as fast as you're willing to put into this, right? Like, that's how serious this business is, because you are your own business. And I want y'all to remember that, right? It's not something you come in here and just show up every single day and clock in and clock out, because we don't, right? And we think we're going to get a paycheck in 3 weeks. That is not what this is. Now, the really cool advantage of that is, I like to compare the two. If I had a regular job and I showed up and they told me they're going to pay me $25 an hour, right? The only thing I can expect in 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks is my first paycheck, and it's going to be about $1,000. And guess what? I'm going to work for 2.5 weeks without receiving anything. And I'm going to be invested, right? If it's in the restaurant business, a health card, a TAM card, a sheriff's card, right? Almost $100, $200 just to go work in a restaurant. And my first paycheck is going to be $1,000. Doesn't matter what I do, right? Because I'm going to put in all these hours, and that's the way that is. Now, the really cool part is here, you can come in here, and since you're your own business owner, you can come in here and put in some really good energy and make $2,000-$3,000 in your first 2 to 3 weeks. So nobody likes that answer, but that is the reality of it, right? Like everyone says, like, how fast can I get started? What's the learning curve? And how much can I come in here and make really fast? Nobody likes it, Jeff, but it's based on your work ethic and how much you develop in the first, right, 6 weeks.
Well, yeah. And I think a lot of it for me was I had to make that, like you, right? When we jumped in, if I didn't have at least 2,000 a week net income coming in within a few weeks, I was in deep trouble because I was the main income earner like you were. And so I think that pressure to jump in and lo and behold, in about 6 weeks, I replaced a 6-figure income because I was willing to do whatever it took to get there.
And I love that, right? The words he's using is whatever it takes. Here's the cool part. All of y'all can do whatever it takes for your level, right? Because his was a lot easier than mine because I had never done this, right? Like I had never made phone calls. I had never made, right, an actual sale presentation, right? And this was super weird for me, right? I had never done anything like this, and it worked. My first month, I made $4,700 deposited into my bank account. It absolutely works. You just got to work it correctly. So what we love to say is what Mr. Chris Cook always teaches us. We're just chief reminding officers of what helps find you success, right? And here's the thing. If you don't do it to a T, you will not find success, and you'll find yourself in that frustration zone, right? Me and James and Jeff, even you too, right? Like we would do all the right things, but not correctly, right? And then we'd be frustrated. We're like, man, I'm dialing what I should be dialing. I'm investing what I should be investing, right? I'm running the appointments, but I'm still not profitable. It's insane how it's just a small little thing that you refuse, right? And why I say that is because I refused to do those little things until I got profitable, right? Like
I was just listening to Jason Ditson on the corporate call with Elijah, and he said in the beginning, he read the script. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to make this my script." Changed it, right? The verbiage, all this. Oh, this isn't proper English and all this stuff. And he did that for a few weeks. He's like, man, this is really bad. So he had his girlfriend call because she's good on the phones, and she couldn't book an appointment. And he goes, well, I guess I'm going to try that script that they gave me. He went back, and all of a sudden it worked. So I think we all do that, Joe. We all try to tweak it a little bit. And, oh, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say that. Or I'm not going to triple dial because, oh, that's weird, right? All these little things that we teach people. And I think it's so important to follow the system, Joe, because it's so easy. It's easier to not follow the system.
And that, dude, that's so real, right? Like it's easier not to do what I'm supposed to do and then get stuck in that frustration zone and then blame everyone else, right? Or blame the system, right? Like Rodney and James, y'all killed it on the huddle up earlier, right? Like there's I want y'all to remember this. There is too many people in Symmetry crushing it. Like not even just winning. Like, right, we got Ashley Richards writing $300,000 in 3 months. Right, that's $100,000 month. They're every single month our national producer leaderboards. Right, there's agents that are submitting $30,000 to $60,000 a month. That means they're making $15,000 to $50,000 a month on personal production. Right, like this is I want y'all to hear me because we love y'all. It's just you. Like you are choosing not to make that kind of money. And here's the biggest thing, because you're either not sticking to script or we're not doing the activity. That's it. There's nothing different from Ashley, Richard, and me other than she booked 50 appointments a week and she sat with 20 a week. That's the only difference. Literally nothing different. She called the exact same leads. Like I have called all our producers in Symmetry and I've asked them all their secrets. And guess what? There ain't no secrets. They just work harder than we do. That is literally the thing, right? Like I love watching, Nate come in here and just crush it, right? Nathan Brunsing. He just simply shuts everything down. Like we got all kinds of group chats, right, Amber? And he will like not respond to us or anything. And by the end of the week, he's like 8 to 10 grand. But all he does is focus on his production. It is literally that simple, right? We just overcomplicate it. So again, we're just going to be chief reminding officers today. Please feel free to unmute, ask any questions, because I want to make sure we answer everything for y'all. And it gets fun, right? So my first 90-day expectations, what should that look like for me, right? As a new agent, or I'm building a team, what should I keep in front of my agent? There is nothing more important than this first thing right here. Everybody ready? 200 dials a day or book 6 appointments. Right? Like this is just me calling all of y'all up because we want to see y'all win. But we go into band and I see 98 dials for the day, 17 contacts, 3 appointments. You know why that kills me, Amber? Is because if they had hit the 200 dials, they would have had their 6 appointments for the day. Right? I see an agent post 37 dials, right? 7 contacts, 5 appointments. Again, what kills me is they could have had 10 appointments for tomorrow. Nobody stops y'all from dialing other than yourself. And I promise you, that is the only difference of finding massive success, right? Or being on the struggle bus is we choose to stop wherever we decide. In fact, I got a great text from Brooke Dial today in the morning. She texted me, hey, I dialed until yesterday, because until means you don't stop till you have your 6 appointments, right? So I think she sent me, it was like 270 something dials, whatever contacts, and 6 appointments. She goes, I didn't want to stop until I had my 6 appointments. Then if everyone checks on band, she wrote her first app already for the day. Like I'm telling y'all, it's posture. It's keep it that simple. You should not, like, if you're full time and you don't have appointments, there is no reason why you're not dialing 200 dials plus. Because if you're dialing 33 dials an hour, right? That's an average dial. That's not even saying you're on a dialer, because a dialer will get you into the 60, 70 realm. But if you dial for 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening, so we're asking you to work 6-hour days, because it's not like you have appointments to run anyways, right? So that's 6 hours a day to work, right? Who had a full-time job? It used to be 8 to 12 hours, right? We're asking you to dial 6 hours a day to help you get to 200 dials a day. If you do it in the morning from 9 to 12 or whatever time zone and works for you, and then 3 hours in the evening, 4 to 7, again, whatever works for you, you should be able to hit your 200 dials. And I promise you, you do that long enough, you're gonna book 6 appointments after you start doing 200 dials. It's crazy too. Listen to what we're saying. You get to 150, right, James? 150, you have 4 appointments. You get to 200 plus, you have your 6 or 7. It's that little different, right? It's those few more dials for whatever reason, right? The joke in the production world, Bridget, right? It's always the last ones, right? You always write your last appointment for the evening. You always book the last dials you have. At the end of the day, it is crazy of how that works, but I promise you, right? Keep that in front of y'all. 200 dials, 6 appointments, no matter what. Like, you want to have success, that's what you have to do. And then inside of that, right, chief reminding officer, you have to triple dial.
No, definitely. And I want to a lot of people come out here like, I don't want to triple dial. I mean, a lot of us don't want to do that just because, oh, they're going to get upset or they're going to think I'm bothering them. Yeah, we want to get a hold of them. That's the whole idea. I even had a client yesterday tell me, no, yeah, keep calling me until, keep dialing until, you get a hold of me. Because now I'm going to think it's a telemarketer. She literally told me that. So make sure you are triple down. Like 80 to 90% of our leads are going to answer on that third dial. So make sure you do that. And then the other part is, I just want to emphasize on that 200 dial. It's until you really want to go into that 6 appointment, really just get the results. And a lot of us are starting off new agents. We have a lot of new faces there as well. We may not be in that CI lead, A lead order, or B1s as well. We're dialing lower leads, the B4s, B3s. set the right expectations for yourself. If you got 60 leads and you're going to dial in the morning and the evening, 60 leads, that's 180 dials in the morning and in the evening. So that's way more than 200 dials. So just set the right expectations for yourself and know your numbers and know what you're going to hit. Because if you're dialing lower leads just because, budget wise, or, I don't want to spend that much, whatever the case, everybody's at a different level, but just know wherever batch or whatever level you're at, you set the right expectation. Don't expect to get 200 dials on B4 leads or B5 leads and get 6 appointments.
That's where I was at, Joe. James.
Yeah. So just make sure, hey, we're going to triple down. Just know, hey, we got B3 leads, 60 leads, or, most of us, we don't tell you recommend getting more than 60 leads because that's already hitting that mark. That we're giving you the right expectation. So if you're doing B4s, B5s, B4s, B3s, the most we say get 50 to 60 leads max, because you're going to be hitting those high numbers. And we want to make sure you hit those numbers and have enough time to get the results you want and on the activity. So please get with your upline, make sure, hey, that's already 180 if you get 60 leads. And then you're going to, guess what? You got to do another 180. That's almost $400, 300, over $300 at least to get, because you're going to be booking appointments, of course, in between that. So it may be less, but you're passing that 300 plus mark already on dials. So just make sure you set the right expectations. Don't expect $200 on B5 leads. Please don't. I don't want y'all to go crazy just turning the wheels on that part.
And I love that, right? I want to hit on, because B5s and B4s have been on sale, right? So I know a ton of agents have gotten, right, 100 B5s, right? Because I think that's what it maxes out on, right? Counsel with your upline, because you cannot dial 100 leads. Okay, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because even if you go through them once, right, that's $300 for the day. And I know we're not doing $300 for the day. So that means you're not calling your lead daily twice. So they're never going to pick up. Right. So please, if you have over 60 leads in your system or whatever, right, however you're dialing, please get with your upline and have them teach you something, right? Like, hey, I want to knock out just 50 or 60 leads. What's a good program for me to just, right, dial these to resolve them, right? So that I can get my policies out of these 60, because I promise you, there's 2 to 3 apps inside of 60 B5 leads, right? So you just got to be able to resolve them. So I know a lot of y'all, right? Because we get emailed every time somebody buys a whole bunch of leads, right? Or any type of lead. So again, I just want to caution all of y'all, if you have over 60 leads, counsel with your upline so that y'all can figure out the right dial for y'all, right? And the right batch, right? Because you can go back, right? Don't buy any more leads, get with your upline and be like, hey, you know what? I got 100 of them last week of the B5s, but I've been dialing 200, 300 dials and that no one's picking up, right? Or I'm not getting appointments. It's because of that, right? You need to be able to resolve them correctly. So counsel with us so that we can help you, right? Get that tuned in so that you can get those resolved. Then the other thing, right, is making sure you are buying by batch, right? That is super important.
Vice versa.
Right? Because then there's the other side, right? Where an agent will buy 2 or 3 leads, right? Or 15 B5 leads. And the problem with that is you're just going to be investing money and you're not going to resolve them, right? Because they may be all the no's, and you're going to be upset that, hey man, every single week I've invested 50 to $100 and nothing is happening, right? Like I'm not getting a return. Again, it's not proper batch size. We never said that you were going to write business with 15 B1s or B2s, right? Everything is in batch size so that we can properly help you resolve the leads and get your ROI, right? So that you can work them, call them, triple dial them twice a day, 3 days, 4 days in a row, so that you can resolve them, right?
Hey,
so, yeah.
So on the bonus leads, right? And setting right expectations. Know the lead fact sheet, right? Know that, on a B5 lead, it could be 9, 10 contacts to get an appointment, right? So regardless what type of leads, you should have a game plan before you dial, a little routine before you dial, right? Think about it as boxing. If you call in B5s, B4s, you're gonna go 12 rounds. So be ready. Do a little workout, do a routine, get your mind clear to go and be able to handle those no's. Because those no's, if you're not mentally ready, will get you, that first dial will be 5 pounds. That
No, you muted it. You muted yourself.
That 5 pounds
sorry.
is heavy.
By the time I'm
That
saying
5
that
pound was heavy.
first dial, that phone picking it up, it's gonna feel like 5 pounds. It's a little heavy. That second dial, 10, 15 pounds, right? That third dial, if you're not mentally prepared, it's gonna feel like 50 pounds and it's just gonna get heavier. So what I'm saying is if you know you're gotta go dial for 2 hours, B5s, B4s, don't just go out there and be like, all right, I gotta go dial. You better have a routine to be mentally prepared before you go in there, because you know that you're gonna handle some no's, and it's just gonna be like, okay, I'm going in there to go get 12 no's as quickly as I can so I can get that first appointment, and then continually grind and know that you're going to get that grind, right? You know that, hey, I'm not trying to go out there and it's gonna be easy. I know it's about to be grind, but you just got to be in the right headspace. Don't just say, hey, I'm going to go sit down. Be ready. For some, it might be coffee. For others, I don't know, 10, 15 push-ups, 10 pages, whatever it is, figure it out and be ready, because it's a battle. And you don't just walk into a battle. You go in there prepared. I've been watching Vikings a lot too. You got to be ready.
And I love that, right? It's knowing the expectation. That's so good, Rodney, right? Like if you have a batch of 60 B5 leads, hey, I promise you got 6 to 10 appointments there, right? Because every 10 contacts, you're gonna get an appointment. But here's what we forget so often is that means there's 50 to 54 no's. And that's what you have to be ready for, right? There's 54 no's. So you can go through 15 no's straight back to back, right? And you better be ready for that. You better be ready for 50 no's. And it's perfectly fine, or it's perfectly fine, right? And even enjoy it, right? Like, oh, okay, I got 1, I got 2, I got 3. Okay, sweet. I'm up to 20 no's. And look, I already have my 2 appointments. Look at that, right? Every 10, I booked 2. And when you start remembering those numbers, it makes it so much easier, right, Rodney? Because you have a game plan. I know,
Right. If
right?
you're
Like
not,
I'm going to
yeah,
get
sorry.
hit and I'm going to get no's.
Yeah, and if you're not doing it at a basic level of just putting a little chicken scratch, that's 1 dial, that's 2 dial, that's 1 contact, right? Oh, I'm up to 35 dials, 2 contacts, right? You need to be aware of how many dials, how many contacts, and then how many appointments, because you will feel, because of the no's get so heavy that you'll feel like, man, I must have dialed 100. I must have had 150 dials and I had, 20 contacts, but lo and behold, if you actually did your chicken scratch, you had 15 dials and 3 contacts. So you
Right.
really need to know what you're doing, because that's the only way you can get to a point of reverse engineering to be able to get your appointments and then your APV. So get your little chicken scratch, because some days you feel like you work, you've had like hundreds of dials, but you only had 44.
Oh, that's so good, dude. Because mentally it feels so much more, right? Like we'll counsel with an agent. They're like, man, everyone's telling me no. Everyone said this. I'm like, what's everyone? Like, give me a number, right? Like, first, don't get counseled, right? Like, you don't go ask for counsel, right, or mentorship without knowing your numbers exactly. Just like Rodney said, what are your exact dials, your exact contacts to your exact booked appointments, so that you can turn around and say, hey, everyone's saying no. What's everyone? Well, all 8 people that I talked to on my B5s. Well, perfect. You're right where you're at. Oh, and I booked 1. Oh, you booked 1, so you're ahead, right? Because everyone's like, no. 8 people told me no. This is hard. Like, what are you talking about? Right? You're ahead of what you should be. Right. So just knowing that's so good, Rodney, right? Like the chicken scratch is so important. Like you got to know exactly how many dials, exactly how many contacts, right? To how many booked appointments, so that we can help, right, coach and counsel you to make sure you have the right activity based on the leads that you have. So,
A
right.
little tip there before you move on to the next show is just, if we are doing the lower, like the B leads, the bonus lead, the B5s, B4s, B3s, all those, just make sure you prepare yourself that you're dialing at least 3 to 4 days in a row consistent. Because if not, you're just a telemarketer to them. So if you say, hey, I'm going to dial today on Monday, you don't dial, you had something, whatever, you didn't do it the next day. You dial on Wednesday, you only dial half, whatever. that you've only dialed them, you only dial them once on Monday, once on Wednesday. They think you're just a telemarketer. You're not putting the right activity for them to answer and pick up. So guess what? On Wednesday, when you're dialing again, that's really starting over again, day one. You have to be consistent to resolve these leads fast enough to get the results. Because if not, you're just expanding those 6 appointments, those leads, and you're going to stretch it out, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks, and that's where it starts hurting. And
And
nobody
even
likes
to
that.
piggyback on that,
Y'all keep going.
now,
And grab some water.
piggyback on that, now you're a little bit seasoned, right? You have an SLO, right? You're running these appointments, and that's how A leads become B leads. Now you're really not putting in the activity because these leads came in, you're booking these appointments, you're running these appointments, more leads are coming in, you didn't get a chance to get to them, you're not putting in the proper activity, you've called them 4 times, and you didn't call them for 2-3 days, and then you tried to call them again. So now you're really not putting in activity, and then you got more leads coming in. So then it's that vicious cycle of like, okay, how do I catch up? And that's how A leads become good B lead, B1s, B2s, and so on. So right on what you're saying, James, is like, we're definitely not putting in the activity that's needed. That's why I said earlier today that go ahead and try to disprove the numbers. I think Symmetry put those numbers right where to the point where it's like, oh, I could get. Nah, you can you can get it or try to get it, but it's being that consistency, right? And that's all I had to say on that one, man. Just you're right, and like making sure you target your activity and keep it there and stay consistent with it.
And that's really the key. I mean, just being consistent, do it for 3-4 days in a row. You're going to resolve, you want to resolve at least 80% of your leads on whatever ones you're working on. Because guess what? Next week, you're getting more leads, and then they start adding up. You got 50 leads, and then you buy another 50. Now you're at 100. Even less you're going to get to those leads. And then the ones that were interested and told you to follow up, you're forgetting about those because you're dialing your new leads again. And then you're just in that vicious cycle. So make sure you're resolving, get the no, you want them to say no. I'll push it. I know, hey, is this even something you want or not? I mean, I want to get that no. Like do whatever it takes, it's either yes or no, move on to the next one. And just make sure you're being clear, when they know what they're talking about half the time, they think it's, for the mortgage or mortgage insurance, homeowners insurance. So make sure you're being clear and not doing injustice for yourself. Like, hey, this is for the mortgage protection. If you pass away, it'll pay off the mortgage or continue to make payments. So once they know that, and then they tell you no, that, hey, all right, you're not interested, next.
I love that, right? And what does all this do, right? It's because the first 90-day expectation again is, right? Everyone wants to find success really fast, right? So let me give you a larger picture, right? Because how do I know I'm doing good every single day? 200 dials or 6 appointments, right? And again, or dial until, right? But what are we trying to accomplish is we need you to get efficient with the script, and we need you to experience everything, right? Because we want you to go to new leads as fast as possible, right? But guess what? The brand new A leads and see, they're going to tell you the exact same thing as a B5. They're literally going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I didn't, right? F off, whatever they tell us. That does not change with a $50, $30, $80 lead. It does not change. They still tell us that. So we need you to have experience. So what we're looking to do is we need to get you to the 2,000 dial marker. Like once you've done 2,000 dials, you've talked to a bunch of people, right? Your experience is a lot higher. We can start looking at, can I get you to better leads now, right? Because you're booking appointments. Now, again, you got to make sure you're counseling with your upline every 5 contacts, right? But we're trying to get you to 2,000 dials. Now, here's the thing. If you work 5 days a week and you do 200 dials a day or 6 appointments, you get to 2,000 dials in 2 weeks, right? Rodney, right? We coach a lot of agents and we want them so bad to go to brand new leads because they're going to love life at that point, because they don't have to go through that struggle of, right, continuing 6 weeks of, I'm not finding the success I want. So does it take you 2 weeks to get your 2,000 dials, right? 5 days a week, 200 dials a day. That's 1,000 dials a week, right? That's literally only 28 hours of work. So did you work, right, 28 hours a week for 2 weeks in a row dialing and get to your 2,000 dials? right?
Yeah.
And this is what I love to remind a new agent, right? Because they'll give me their numbers and I'm like, hey, so you're full-time, remember? I'm asking you to work at least a 30-hour work week. And at $200 for the week, $300 for the week, $400 for the week, $700 for the week, you still haven't worked 28 hours this week. And that's the biggest reminder that we want to give an agent, right? Is we need to get you to $2,000 in 2 weeks as fast as possible so that you can have the experience to start working on better leads. Now, why is that so important? It's because the next topic, which is the 3 learning curves, because you're going to have 3 walls in production. Okay. Here's the first wall. Your very first wall is booking appointments. It's going to take you forever, right, to master the script. And I shouldn't say forever again, right? 2 weeks if you do it fast. If you're dialing $200 a week, the word forever might start showing up, right? It might be eight weeks, which is 2 months. Do you want to wait 2 months to start making some really good income here? I don't, right? So the first learning curve is booking appointments. It's going to take whatever it takes you. Here's the thing, like it's just following script. It's are you recording yourself and are you counseling every 5 contacts with your upline of how fast you can break this learning curve? Because it's not until an agent, and Amber, you do this so well, right? It's not until an agent finally sends us a recording or finally dials in a dial session right in the workroom so that we can hear them and say, oh, it's easy. You were saying Mr. or you were saying is. And then we take that word out of your script because it wasn't in the script. You just added it. And all of a sudden you can book appointments. Now, here's the thing. We will never discover that until we hear you. So my lesson inside of my first learning curve of booking appointments, I want y'all to write this down. It doesn't matter who I listen to book appointments. What matters is, does my upline hear me book appointments? Right? It's like riding a bike. You can watch us ride a bike all you want, but if you've never ridden a bike, you cannot just get on it and take off. You have to go get that experience yourself. There is no way around it. So I know a lot of us, right, that want to take, right, and overanalyze and be like, no. Let me hear Amber, and I want to hear Sam, and let me hear Jeff, and let me hear Rodney, and let me hear Bridget. I love it. I love y'all, right? Like you're learning, you are, but you're not getting the experience. So you're prolonging that 2 week spot, that 2 week, right? Can we condense it, how fast we can get you through it? So in your first 90 days, how often does your upline listen to you dial? I can't emphasize that enough. We got all kinds of work rooms. If you're too shy, break out in a one-on-one, but you have to dial and let them listen to you. Not, hey, Amber, let me listen to you dial. Hey, Sam, let me listen to you. Don't win anything, I promise you. Because guess what they're doing? They're reading the script. You have it in front of you. Nothing has changed, right? It's you going through that experience of overcoming when they pause you, can you go back to script? Because as soon as you start answering any questions, I promise you, you ain't booking an appointment. You got it. Your job is to get hung up on or book an appointment. That's it. Those are your only 2 objectives. It's not to explain, oh, well, it was the letter that you received. Remember, it was a while back ago. If you listen to what I just said, oh, it was a letter that you received a while back ago. You had responded to it because looks like it was, looks like it was a while. None of that is in the script, right? You have to stick to the script. As soon as you start defending the lead, yes, you received it in the mail and it looks like you filled it out and right, like, nope, that is not part of the script. The script is you read it and you book the appointment and you ask health conditions and you lock it in. As soon as you start defending a lead, you are off script. And you know why you're defending a lead? Because you don't understand your numbers, right? Listen to this, Bridget. You know why we defend leads? Because we forget that I'm supposed to get 50 no's. So I'm trying to convince this one person, like, no, you did, I promise. You filled it out and look, it says Mary and the phone number is 2, this is what I called, 2103. You're off script, right? We're sorters. either they're going to book the appointment or they're not. How many of y'all have booked an appointment? Raise your hands, right? Wasn't it easy? They were like, oh yeah, we did that. Let's go ahead and tomorrow, 3 o'clock, sure. What else do you need? Can you hurry up? Right? They let you. That's what we're looking for. People to let us, right, book the appointment. We're not trying to convince any one of our leads that, hey, I'm going to book an appointment with you and I'm going to run it, right? That we're sorters. You're simply looking for the ones, and I promise it always falls in line with the numbers.
Hey,
So,
Joe.
yeah.
Oh.
Like, even if you were that good, right? Even if you came from a different background and you're like the best salesman out, right? And you're going to talk someone into booking an appointment, right? And then you're going to talk someone into buying a policy, right? You ain't going to be there in 2 months, 3 months where that your sales technique wears off and they're like, I no longer want this, right? If we're looking for the people that filled it out, want it, and have a problem, right? They got to give us their issue, their problem, and we got to try to solve it, right? And if there's no problem and they're telling you that there isn't a problem and you convince them that there is a problem, that problem's not going to last that long, right? Month 2, month 3, that problem's no longer going to be a problem. They're like, I'd rather buy pizza than pay this policy.
Absolutely,
I love it.
Rodney. And
Bridget
just
put it in the chat because Chris would tell us this all the time, right? Professional sort, amateurs convince. We can't say that enough. Like, that's all I would hear, because if you convince anyone for an appointment, they ain't going to show up. They show up and you convince them for an app, you got to charge back.
Yep. And what I wanted to say, Joe, is for any new agents on the call right now, it is up to you to reach out to your upline. We want to hear you dial, but we can't make you do it in front of us, right? We can't make you do anything. It's ultimately up to you to reach up to your upline and let them listen to you, or record yourself and let them listen to you so that you can get better. And that's the way that we can help you get better. But we need you to come to us. It can't just be us constantly reaching out to you.
Oh, I got some good notes for that after this, Sam. Right? So the first wall is booking appointments. Now, here's the cool part. Once you learn to book 15 appointments, 20 appointments for the week, right? Because in case y'all don't know, you're supposed to be booked full time. You should be booking around 20 appointments so that you can sit with 10, right? We never make sure we understand the numbers. We never said book 10 to 12 to find success. No, we said sit with 10 to 12 to find success. So that means, right, with a 50% show rate, if we're lucky, you need to be able to book 20, 25 appointments so that you can sit with your 10 to 12, right? So you need to have plenty of resources. That's why weekly we're investing in leads so that we can have that many appointments. So that's your first learning curve. Here's the cool part. Again, once you start booking 20 appointments a week, 10 appointments a week, right, and you just keep increasing, you never go backwards. It's insane. It's so cool. Like, and it doesn't matter what lead you call. Listen to that, right? Like, we can have, right? I bet you Steven Tickle, right, grab B5s, he would still book the same amount of appointments. It is insane of how once your body knows how to book that amount of appointments in your mind, like, it is a no-brainer. You book that many appointments. I don't care what leads you're calling. It is so cool to watch y'all transform in that part. Right. So now the next wall that you're going to hit in production, you're really good at booking appointments. Amber, I got a whole bunch, 10 of them. I'm super excited for tomorrow. But guess what? You're going to have to work on your show rate, because you're going to book a whole bunch of appointments and ain't none of them going to show up. Right? Amber, the first time you booked that many appointments, you had 10 in a day, I think, right? How many showed up?
Two showed.
Right? Like the struggle is real. I promise y'all. Right? Like, I would book 15 appointments and I'd have 3 show up. I'm like, what? Right? I was super excited. I invested in really good leads, but I had to start working on my lockdown. Right? So now I'm good on the script, but we get excited and we forget to lock that puppy in like no tomorrow. Right? Because we get comfortable. Right? Because, oh, I have 4 already. Like, I'm just going to go through it again. Hey, tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Yep. Go ahead. Yep. Okay, perfect. I'll send you an email. Great. See you tomorrow. Right? And then you're like, sweet, I got 6 now. Let me do another one. Yep. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, health condition. No, okay, great. I'm going to send you an email. I'll see you tomorrow. Boom. Like you're rushing them off the phone. You have to start, right? Your new struggle bus, right? Your new wall is locking that puppy down. Is it a good time? Trusting your gut, right? And that's the next wall you're going to hit. Again, counseling with your upline is what you need to be doing to get over that hump. Okay. The final wall of production. Rodney, I got good at booking appointments. Now they actually show up, right? I sat with 9 this week. I'm excited, but I only got 1 app. Right? Because your next wall is running the appointment, right? Getting to think about it. What are you saying in the appointment? And again, are you recording yourself, right? Are you doing it in a workroom where where your upline can listen to you so that they can help you, right? We want to help you, right? We invest a ton in recruiting. We get you through the process. We invest hours and hours a week to help you through the process. I am not going to get my ROI unless you get your ROI. That's the beauty of this system, right? So like, I want you to be super successful because then I'm super successful, right? That's what I fell in love with this process, right? You could never think, and this is what I love to tell a new agent because you'll hear this. My upline doesn't help me. My upline doesn't do this. My upline. And we blame our upline on our success. Listen, we need you to be successful so that we can be successful. At no point of anything should you ever think the person above you doesn't want to help you properly. Like we want it so bad for you. You trust me, our biggest problem is we want it more for you than you for yourself. I promise you. Look at all the leaders shaking their heads. I promise any agent, we want it more for you than you want it for yourself because we know your potential. And sometimes you just don't put it in. But I want y'all to take that out of the box because the next thing is you have to be able to counsel with us, right? This is the biggest thing. So Sam, what I was talking about, right? You're going to love this nugget is, and Rodney and James, y'all hit on this, right? Choosing your overwhelm. Here's the thing. We get production is overwhelming. It's a lot, right? We're learning scripts. We're dialing a lot. We're not finding the success we want. Rodney, we get overwhelmed very fast, right? It's a lot of things to learn really fast, whether you're a brand new agent or you're even a seasoned agent, right? Because, hey, how do I build? How do I produce? Like we all are on a struggle bus, right? Now here, choose your overwhelm. Man, I love y'all's topic, Rodney, because what do I mean by choose your overwhelm? Are you getting overwhelmed with stuff that doesn't pay you? Because I promise you that's what you're doing. If you're not being successful in this industry with Symmetry, with the system we have in place, I promise you, you're getting overwhelmed with stuff that doesn't matter. And what do I mean by that? If you're a brand new producer, are you being overwhelmed with underwriting guides? Where's my carrier contract? Like, how much should I invest in leads? Right? Like all kinds, I don't want to triple dial, right? Like you're choosing to be overwhelmed with stuff that does not make you a single penny. Versus what you should be overwhelmed with is, holy crap, Amber, I dialed 300 dials today. I'm super overwhelmed because I had no results. How do I get better? Oh my God, look, I got goosebumps just saying that. That is an overwhelm that will make you so much money. Are you being overwhelmed by booking your 6 appointments and holy crap, they're going to show up tomorrow and I got to prep for them, right? Because that's going to make you money. Are you being overwhelmed with, I'm running appointments and I keep getting to think about it and I'm not finding success, Rodney? What do I do next? Those are the overwhelms that you want to choose. I love y'all's topic, dude. I was so fired up with y'all's topic, right? Like choose your overwhelm. What are you being overwhelmed with, right? Because is it profitable or is it not? And y'all hit it so well, right? Like you got to get really used to being uncomfortable here, right? but stay uncomfortable in profitable activities, right? Everyone's heard the IPAs, right? Income producing activities. In production, there's only two. Are you dialing and are you running appointments? If literally your conversation is not about your dials or your appointment, I promise you, it is, you're not going to make money off of it. And it is the wrong overwhelm. You need to be overwhelmed with my dials. I'm struggling with my dials because I'm dialing a whole bunch, right? And I'm not getting my success, right? My dials were 250, Becky. I talked to 35 people and I only booked 2. I am overwhelmed. This is horrible, right? But man, that's a beautiful overwhelm. Like trust me, we continue to coach and counsel. Your next problem is going to be, I dialed 180 dials. I talked to 20 people and I booked 10. And then your next overwhelm is, holy crap, I sat with 6 yesterday, Amber, and I only wrote 1 app. Right? Like those are beautiful overwhelms, right? So choose your overwhelm. Like where are you choosing to be overwhelmed by in this industry, right? And is it profitable, right? Again, counsel with your upline so that they can say, hey, you know what? And here's the thing, nobody hears us when we say, don't worry about underwriting. That's not what you need to be focused on. What I need you to focus on is, do you have the script memorized? And I need you to get to 200 dials. That's where I want to help you find success, right? Now, here's the last thing on overwhelm. Choose not to be overwhelmed by yourself. Listen to that, Bridget, right? Like y'all want to know when an agent quits? Because y'all choose to be overwhelmed by yourself. There is too many people on this call, even on this call, right? This is just a production call. There's too many leaders here that want to help you win, that need to help you win so that they can win. You are choosing to be overwhelmed by yourself. What do I mean by that? Because I love to dig into this, right? Did you dial 200 dials today and talk to 35 people and book 1 appointment and not call your upline at all today? You're choosing to be overwhelmed by yourself there. We want to help you. We want to be overwhelmed by, man, Jeff, 17 agents called me today. I'm overwhelmed. That means we're finding success in better hiccups, right? Choose not to be overwhelmed by yourself. I can't say that enough. Your upline wants to see you win at any stage.
I think I overwhelmed you, Joe, in the beginning.
All the time, like I would have to call my, I'm like, Chris, I mean, I don't know. He came from the insurance world. He's better than me, right? Like you have to embrace that, right? And please do not choose to be overwhelmed by yourself. There's too many people, and there's the system here is, right? Massive action, constant correction. So are you overwhelming your upline with the right activity? Right? Like, are you calling Rodney and saying, hey, Rodney, like, this is where I'm at. I send these text messages. I don't know what to do next. Right? But you're counseling versus at the end of the week, right? We call it a ghostwriter, right? At the end of the week, they'll send me in their numbers. I dialed 400 dials. I talked to 60 people and I only booked 2 appointments. I'm like, I can't help you at that point. You already did it. Versus if you call me Monday and say, hey, I'm at 56 dials. I already talked to 7 people and nothing. What are they telling you? What are you saying? Right? Like choosing not to be overwhelmed by yourself is priceless for you. I promise y'all. The difference is, right? We'll see an agent take off. Y'all want to see, right? Like a Jake, right? That you see agents that come in here and crush it. I promise they're not special, right? Even though, and I say that respectfully, they're just coaching and counseling a lot. And they're just putting in a lot more activity than us. That's all it was. Why I can say that is I came in here and crushed it, but let me tell you, I sucked. I was horrible on the phone, Bridget. I had to dial 1,000 dials because I needed my appointments. And then I was sitting with all these appointments and I was calling Steve Devine and Mark Newbauer in every single appointment. I was like, I don't know what to do now. Like, I think they said yes. Like, what does that mean? Pull out a paper application or something, right? Like, don't choose to be overwhelmed by yourself. There's too many systems in place and too many people crushing it, right? Like you see the weekly leaderboards for, I want y'all to think about this. Look at our weekly leaderboards for Symmetry and look at the new writer leaderboards. There's too many new writers writing $5,000 to $10,000 their first week out. They're simply the ones that invested in the leads blindly, massive action, constant correction blindly, and chose not to be overwhelmed by themselves blindly. Because when they're spotlighted, trust me, all they say, right, their upline will come out and say, oh, they just called me a whole bunch. They literally called me 10 times a day. There is no secret in that, right? And James, Rodney, like y'all crushed it on the overwhelm part, and Rochelle even too, right? Like you brought out their first 90-day expectations. Anything y'all want to give to those part, right, for a new agent to come in here and just find a lot of success?
I think what new agents should give themselves grace on is everyone's timing is going to be different, right? Your ability to handle how the struggles, the walls, the parts that'll overwhelm you, your ability to handle that is going to be a lot different than the person to your left and to your right, right? So give yourself grace on that. And I heard it said before, right? And it needs to be said again. It's not get rich fast, right? It's get rich, yes, right? It will happen, but that time, whether it's 2 weeks and then you extend it, you know, Joe, you said 2,000 calls, right? You're thinking 2 weeks, but someone could come in, it could take them 10 months, a year to make 2,000 calls because that phone's so heavy, right? And if that's your path, let it be your path. And you will get there. It might take you a little longer, right? As long as you don't get off that bus and get off the path, you will get there, yes. But many people can't afford to work and get in there and take $2,000 and let it go for 6 months, 9 months, because you're not getting paid. And if you are getting paid, it's spread out. You know, it's spread out. It's not consistent. So there's no way you can afford to stay in. Right. So managing the expectations, when you're saying 2,000 dials, it's not in 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's 2 weeks. Right. So you have to put in the activity. And if it's your part-time, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 6 weeks. Right. So if you know that, right, going in there and you actually know that and you manage that, and you know that this is the car, the vehicle that will get you to where you want to get. You have to stay in the vehicle. That vehicle will get a flat tire. Your engine might go out, right? You might go on the side of the road, right? But guess what? You got help. Here comes AAA, your mentor, right? To help you get that car back on the road. But you have the car and you have the path. Just don't get off the path. Don't get out of the road and sell the car. Someone else will pick it up real quick and take over, right? So get rich, yes, not get rich fast.
Love that. It's so good. I like it. I don't know. Anything else, James, Rochelle?
I just want to leave it. Maybe if anybody have any questions or anything.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So as far as triple dials, if they have a home phone and a cell phone, how do we treat that one? Are we dialing both 3 times in a row?
Yep. You'll dial that one 6 times.
So is that counted towards your 200 dials, or is that?
Yep. Every time you hit send, that is a dial.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a great question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what about if the voicemail comes on? Should I dial it 2 more times as well, even if the voicemail comes on?
Yeah, so many times they're driving through a tunnel, they're at a grocery store. Who knows that Walmart doesn't have right service inside of them, right? All these weird buildings, you can't get any service. So yes, triple dial it. I don't care if it goes straight to voicemail. Absolutely. That's a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Also, another reason to do that is if they have an iPhone, a lot of times iPhones, the first time you dial, it'll go straight to voicemail. When you dial again, it'll ring through.
Like, it looks like
And you do want to hear you do want to let it go to voicemail that first time. Don't leave a message or anything, but you want to hear if the client's name is Robert, maybe he goes by Bob, maybe he goes by Bobby. And if you can pick that up and use it once you actually get him, that will only help you
Hello?
set that appointment.
Hello, may I speak to
Nice, nice.
Rodney Gabriel?
Yes, this is
Rob?
I have a question. Yes.
Hey Joe, I have a question regarding, we talked to a client like 2, 3 weeks ago or even a month ago, and we're gonna call them back after that. And what do we say to recap what we talk about, a month ago? And doesn't sound like a, normal salesperson. For example, I'm just following up with you, something like that.
Ask the question one more time.
I'm asking, how do we recap with someone that we talked about the mortgage protection a month ago in order to, book the appointment and get them know, like, yes, we talk about that, and you told me to follow up with you to get in touch with me so that we can figure it out how we're gonna go.
So if it's just the first, right, you're still trying to book the appointment, you just call them like normal and book it, right? They usually won't even remember and let you book the appointment.
Okay, so go from the scratch, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, when you call them again, right, at whatever time they told you to call them, you stick to the script so you can book the appointment.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Any other questions?
Rochelle, you unmuted, you had some nuggets?
I didn't. Everyone was good. I know that we're closing down the hour now. Um, I thought all the information was great. It's great for new agents that are coming in, as well as reminders for others. And it's important to stay on the path your first 90 days. So find your trail and stay on it.
Love it. Awesome. All right, we're gonna finish right on time. Thank y'all for hopping on. Again, if any of these nuggets helped you, right, book more appointments, right, book your 6 appointments for tomorrow. Please post on Band. Again, another agent can see it, and it helps us a lot as a community. So thank y'all for hopping on.